This video is my reaction to the Detroit Lions' 44-30 win over the Cowboys on Thursday Night Football. This is a complete team win with a lot of factors, a lot of people contributing. I'll try to mention as many as I possibly can here and give them credit for the situations they were involved in. Nonetheless, Detroit's offense rolled. They put up over 400 yards overall, averaged 7.5 yards per play. They sent the Cowboys momentum and express, packing. And Detroit gets some momentum back on their own, headed towards the playoffs. I know you got an upcoming game against the Rams, but you should appreciate this win for what it is, in my opinion, against the Cowboys team that had just defeated the Chiefs and the Eagles in their last two games. Jahmyr Gibbs scored another 3 touchdowns, despite kind of really being held down on the ground for most of the night. David Montgomery played a big factor in the second quarter, the third quarter, in fact. Also have to talk about the wide receiver contributions and the efficiency. Mainly, Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown. No Sam Laporta. Tesla did have an impact. Of course, he had a 12-yard touchdown tonight. But St. Brown and Williams, they combined for 13 catches, 188 yards. Really helped Jared Goff, I thought, focus on a number of the under-center play-action concepts, as well as the crucial, important throws late to hold the Cowboys off. The Cowboys offense woke up after halftime, or after that early third quarter interception, I should say. The critical catches are the crucial ones I'll talk about for those two guys, Williams and St. Brown. First, the 3rd and 6 catch that Jameson Williams has on an over route from right to left. It helped the Lions push the ball downfield and then eventually take the 37-27 lead. That was the drive that started with about 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and it culminated with Gibbs' first rushing touchdown. Second, a nice little, it was like a little split zone look, but St. Brown was the guy that he was following from left to right. It ended up being a downhill cut for Gibbs, 10-yard touchdown with about 7:20 left to put him up 37-27. Cowboys go right downfield and settle for a field goal. They elected to properly kick the field goal on the 4th and 3 and close within 37-30. And then St. Brown, gets to play his role. 37-yard catch and run on a play action, really kind of similar to the same one that I just talked about for Jameson Williams. It kind of put the nail in the Cowboys, or at least it set up Gibbs to be the final nail. Talking about Gibbs' touchdown behind Tristan Colon that makes it a 14-point lead. I think just over 2 minutes left. I thought St. Brown looked kind of angry tonight, pissed off, maybe a little extra motivated, if you will. I like that level of anger or determination with him. He's a super chilled out guy and very intelligent, obviously. I would like to see him be a little bit more angered to prove to everybody, go show everybody who you are. And I thought he did that tonight. He shredded Dallas's DBs, 92 yards, on 6 catches, I think 8 or 9 targets. Williams, this has to be described as, who he is at this point, if he's given opportunity, that is. It's a second straight clutch performance. Williams now has 14 catches, 240 yards in the last 2 games. Talking about against the Packers and the Cowboys. I think those two can be a dominant duo. At the receiver position, Isaac Tesla played a factor as well, man. He had the touchdown catch in the third quarter. That's after the Barnes interception that opens the second half. But also, Tesla had 2 really nice blocks tonight in the run game after missing multiple blocks in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I thought. Overall, Detroit's offense rolled up 20 first downs, but a number of big plays. They did have 8 first downs on the ground. Montgomery had a 35-yard touchdown run. St. Brown had the aforementioned 35-yard catch late in the game to clinch it. Gibbs had a 26-yard catch. He also put up 120 total offensive yards and 3 touchdowns. I think Gibbs, if I saw the stat correctly, he now has, or is tied for the most, touchdowns before turning 24 years old, and he won't turn 24, I think, until the end of the season. I think it's Barry Sanders and maybe someone else that he's tied with or right up at the top. Maybe it's Randy Moss. But in any case, second week in a row where Gibbs was primarily shut down in the run game on the ground, except for the touchdowns. Nonetheless, he's able to contribute in the pass game, 7 catches, 77 yards. I think this is a really good win. I'm not going to downplay it. I will be honest with you. 8, 9, 10 days ago, somewhere in that range, I had not watched much Cowboys film, and my opinion of them was drastically different once I fired up the film of their games against the Eagles and the Chiefs leading up to this Thursday night. Some of the guys on their offensive line, some of their young players, exceptional. They attack through the air aggressively, obviously with Dak Prescott playing extremely well. They have kind of a three-headed monster at the receiver and the tight end position with Pickens, Lamb, and then Ferguson, the tight end. I thought Kelvin Shepard's group did a phenomenal job in the first half, right? It's obvious that Dak and the Cowboys got things going after halftime, well, after the interception by Derek Barnes. Look, in the second half, they not only rolled up 244 yards of offense, but Dallas also went, after the interception to open the third quarter, they go touchdown, field goal, touchdown, field goal in a series of 4 possessions. So first they got within 27-16, then 27-19 after the field goal, and then 30-27 on the short touchdown to, I think it's Flournoy, over the top of Amik, and maybe Branch blew that coverage. The announcers kind of discussed it from the end zone angle. I just don't think Amik is playing very well right now, in my opinion. It seems to me to be a high completion rate when the ball is thrown near him. Now, having said that, Amik made the brilliant play on the opening snap of the third quarter that allowed Barnes to get the interception. It's a slant to Pickens. Amik does a great job of IDing it, kind of off coverage. Looked like he was about 7 yards off to me, and drives on the slant, gets a hand on it. I think it's his inside hand, his left hand. Tips the ball up in the air to Barnes, interception. I thought Barnes was going to take it back to the house. That's what helped the Lions, go from leading 20-9 at halftime to 27-9 early in the third quarter. That's Goff's touchdown pass to Tesla. It's 12 yards, and it's over the outstretched hands of the rookie corner, Siobhan Revel. He's a really talented guy, but to me it was pretty obvious that Goff was attacking him, going after him at times tonight. We'll talk about Shepard's defense overall, but also, focusing on what they did before halftime, holding Dallas to 9 points. That was huge. Look, the Cowboys get 3 field goals in the first half. One was from 57. The other was from 55. And then the third quarter field goal that gets Dallas to within 27-19, that one's from 63. So you have to say that, in some of these possessions, Detroit had put the Cowboys in a position where they're attempting long field goals. The problem is Aubrey can hit them, right? I mean, he's just that good. Him and Jake Bates, a lot of fun to watch. Irregardless of how they're letting people treat the footballs now and, have them in their possession, those guys are still kicking the ball with a, high degree of accuracy. They're shaping their kicks in a different manner, whether the ball's on the left hash or the right hash. So those two guys are as good as it gets, if you ask me. Have to talk about Al-Quadin Muhammad. He had 3 sacks, 2 of which were in the fourth quarter. He looked fresh in the fourth quarter. There came a time where I thought most of the defensive linemen for Detroit kind of looked like they were struggling. They weren't able to get off the football even when, the Cowboys were going, hurry up. It was obvious they were going to throw the ball. It looked like, to me, Muhammad was fresh in those situations, and he was the guy getting off the ball first. Like I said, he got 3. I don't think Hutchinson generated 1, but he was on the attack as well in the third and fourth quarter. He was involved on a couple of them, clearly held on 2 rushes in the fourth quarter. I remember hearing people in the last year talk about how many times he's held and it's not called. I have to tell you that sometimes watching the game live, I'm like, yeah, I get it. I see it, because twice tonight in the fourth quarter, he's clearly held. DJ Reed gets the late interception over the middle, and that helps Detroit close out their 8th win. And now they get a little bit of a longer break before the visit to face the Rams. I mean, it goes without saying that every week Jack Campbell plays fantastic. He finished with 12 tackles tonight. The 1 sack that was initially ruled a safety. I think he's got 5.5 sacks now this year. Forced fumble on Ferguson that was critical as well. The Lions finished at +3 in turnover margin. And Jack Campbell's a big part of it, as well as Amik Robertson. And then DJ Reed with the late interception. Those 3 turnovers, well, the first 2 at least, that really allowed Detroit to create some separation from what, to me, at this point, I think is a dangerous team. Dallas's left tackle was awful, and I mean awful. On 4 or 5 of his pass rush reps, he was almost kind of looking inside, and totally unaware of the D-end rushing. I think one time it was Muhammad and one time it was Hutchinson. I have no idea how the Cowboys will finish this year. I think now they're, 6-1? They do have a tie with the Packers, and they beat the Chiefs and the Eagles. So it's clearly some talent there. So I'm not going to run down this win at all. I'm not going to minimize it. When I watched the film, I was impressed by their offensive line, kind of scared by the weapons in their pass game, Pickens, Lamb, and the tight end 87, Ferguson. And Ferguson gave the Lions trouble tonight. Really weird offensive pass interference called on him in the fourth quarter. I thought they were going to call it on Anzalone, but it does look like the tight end kind of slaps Anzalone to the inside. That's very rarely called, at least in my opinion. Dak does finish. I think it's 31 of 47 passing, 376 yards. But Dallas couldn't control the line. Not the way that I had seen them do some recently. They had 24 carries for 91 yards. I thought the Lions did a much better job of integrating their run game, particularly in the second quarter and at times in the second half. Really, David Montgomery here is the guy that I'm focused on. He did have one carry for 35 yards, so I understand, that the other 6 carries only went for 25. But I'd like to see him get some more opportunities. To me, Montgomery looked fresh. Very difficult to tackle on the carries that he did get. Maybe this is the sweet spot, 8 or 10 carries for him. Let him be very aggressive, maximum energy output. He also had a 13-yard catch on an under center play action that I think part of the game plan tonight was under center play action, attack down the field, and let Goff be a little bit more clean in the pocket. Kind of one of the things I've been talking about, for the last couple of weeks, a way to mitigate some of the offensive line struggles. Don't put them in the shotgun, obvious passing situations. Sometimes you just got to throw the ball on 1st and 10. I feel like that's kind of what Dan Campbell did in the first half. On the flip side, in the third and fourth quarter, I counted 4 separate times where a 1st and 10 direct flow run concept to Jahmyr Gibbs was absolutely shut down. I'm certainly not saying it's Jahmyr Gibbs' fault. I just think that defenses are really keying in on Gibbs in some of those moments that you're better served, or perhaps a better option, I guess I should say, is to go play action from under center. And I felt like that's what Campbell did a lot of tonight, particularly in the first half. They were the aggressor. And then when Montgomery got some carries going in the second and third quarter, that to me is when they kind of started to wear Dallas down some. Montgomery had that like churning 35-yard run in the second quarter. That puts Detroit up 17-6. It was about that time for me. I don't know about you. You're more than welcome to let me know in the comment section what you thought. It was about that time for me when I thought, okay, this looks like the Lions team that we all have in our minds. Injuries have played a role this year for multiple teams, but obviously the Lions. Joseph didn't play. Harper went out with a concussion. Brian Branch suffered, looks like to me a right ankle injury. So there's definitely a war of attrition happening. It is across much of the league. We're going to focus on the Lions, obviously. I wonder, what the safety position will look like the next time this team takes the field against the Rams. Joseph and Branch are both going to be trying to work back from injuries. And then Harper pretty obviously had a concussion because he was, ruled out really quickly. I'll talk about some of my first half observations and then some unsung heroes. Detroit was up 20-9 at the half, even though there was a pair of plays that definitely impacted the score. You had the safety by Campbell. It was a sack that was obviously overruled by New York. The announcers even said that. That kind of calls into question so many things that are either reviewed and overturned or not reviewed at all. I mean, where are we going to stop with this? Is every play going to be reviewable from New York and they can call in? So I get it. It's a scoring play, and so that's why. But I don't expect, nor should you, that the reviews / things that are overturned from New York will just stop with turnovers and scoring plays. Another thing from the second quarter that kind of managed the differential for the Cowboys, at least, is the miss from Goff of Tesla. I'm talking about late in the second quarter. Now, Bates powered in a field goal to make it 20-9, but Tesla had cleared Revel, the rookie corner, number 34. Revel kind of fell down. And the only thing I can think is that maybe Goff is releasing or throwing the football before Revel has fallen down. Because obviously if the DB falls down, oh, he's wide open, we should be able to hit that, connect that. My problem is, this looked like an uncatchable football to me, and you're more than welcome to let me know if you had a different angle or opinion on it. Maybe Goff's trying to protect the ball and throw it, okay, we're going to throw it near the pylon to the outside, and if Tesla makes a great catch, fine, but we're not going to allow anyone on the defensive side to get involved. My problem, I'm giving Goff the benefit of the doubt here, but my problem there is the safety's not going to be able to get over and make that play towards the pylon. So I think that one seems like a miss to me right now, but the All-22 and the end zone angle film will obviously let us know the timing, right, and the location, but the timing. When Goff is letting go of the football, is Revel already on the ground? I don't think so. It probably occurs just as or before he hits the deck. But in any case, Detroit led 20-9 at the half. Jack Campbell had the sack, safety that was overturned, also the forced fumble. And that directly led to the 35-yard touchdown run from Montgomery. It put Detroit up 17-6 with 4:26 left in the second quarter. It was a 3rd and 21. Dak completes it to Ferguson, the fourth-year tight end from Wisconsin, and Jack Campbell punches the ball away. I think it's pretty obvious Ferguson was on the way down already. He was on the way going to the ground. So just brilliant work from Jack Campbell that he recognized, okay, I can try to force the fumble here. To me, it was very similar to a punch-out attempt he had earlier in the year that kind of led to the memo or whatever from the league. I think it was in the Bengals game. In any case, Jack Campbell played extremely well once again. I thought kind of returned to the form that we expect of him. Last week, I did not think he played as well. I thought there was 2 blown coverages. One missed tackle last week, and in fact, there was one this week. Javonte Williams broke a tackle from him, which is extremely rare. In the first half, St. Brown obviously provided a clear boost from a production standpoint. He had 4 catches on 6 targets for 46 yards. He also drew a DPI late in the second quarter. But I feel like it was his energy, his presence, that everyone knew, okay, he's suiting up even though he's injured. Probably not 100%. And he still goes out there and produces. Jameson Williams at the half had 5 catches on 5 targets, 63 yards. He's playing at a torrid pace in the last 2 weeks. Through 30 minutes of gameplay, Detroit had only ran the ball 6 times. Now, some of that could be related to the late second quarter possessions, but Goff had 21 pass attempts, and Gibbs and Montgomery only had 6 total carries. That's interesting to me. To me, that seems like a game plan thing. I can't see Dan Campbell coming into the game and thinking, okay, we're going to run the football, and then just suddenly deciding not to. Like I kind of said earlier, I think I would have liked to have seen 3, 4, 5 more carries for Montgomery, maybe even more than that, because to me it seemed like he was reading things exceptionally well and able to kind of jump or skip through gaps that maybe Gibbs is there too soon at times, and Montgomery's got that more little, hesitating staccato style where he's able to skip through gaps, in a really neat fashion. The Lions did score early in the third quarter. Like I said, it was the interception from Barnes on the great play from Amik. And they go up 27-9 on the 12-yard touchdown pass to Tesla. I think it's against a zone defense. Goff lofted the ball perfectly over the corner. Revel. Tesla catches it. Before you know it, however, it's 27-19. The Lions also had a field goal blocked from 52 yards. And then the Cowboys got a quick touchdown. And then sandwiched another score around the blocked field goal, I should say. And that was a 63-yard field goal from Aubrey. That's what pulled them to 27-19. The ensuing drive, late third quarter into fourth quarter, I think includes a big run back from Kennedy. And then Montgomery is a factor here. Basically, it's a 10-play drive, only generated 40 yards. It culminates with a field goal by Bates to make it 30-19. There's a lot going on this drive. I'm certainly not saying Jahmyr Gibbs gets the football too much, but I'm not too sure that David Montgomery isn't getting the ball enough. He had an under center play action catch that he's got 3 of those in the last 2 weeks. Maybe it's 3 weeks. it's a high percentage play. I mean, every time they go to it, it seems like he's open. It was 13 yards. He also had 23 yards on the ground, and that catch, the aforementioned play-action catch, helped Detroit overcome a 1st and 15. Unfortunately, after gaining the first down a couple of plays later, there's the hold on Rattledge, and that pushed Detroit behind the sticks. So they had to settle for a field goal, right, 30-19. Cowboys go right down the field. Some hurry-up stuff, throwing the ball a lot. Go for 2, get it. Just too much time on the 2-point conversion, and I think it's to Ferguson over the middle against Anzalone. To me, even though the Cowboys got to 30-27 there, I don't know about you, you might have been in a different boat, nervous, anxious. I felt like the game flow, what we were observing from Detroit's offense, I thought they're going to keep scoring. You know, they can score here on this defense, and it's 30-27 Dallas, like I said. Detroit's facing a 3rd and 6. Goff finds Williams. It's an over concept over the middle, and that leads directly to Gibbs' rushing touchdown. Dallas has to settle for a field goal, get to within 37-30, and then the 37-yarder to St. Brown pushes the ball down inside the 10. Gibbs delivers another touchdown. I'm glad he scored. I get it. People would say, you know, take a knee, you know, you can run the clock out, whatever. I don't, you know, sometimes players forget how many timeouts does the other team have left. Are we above the 2-minute warning, or are we just below? I mean, at the level that I coached at generally, youth and high school, we told our kids to score. The NFL is different. We're talking about adults. They're prepared and coached, obviously, at a drastically higher level. In any case, I thought it was cool that Cologne was the guy that led Gibbs on his final touchdown run. Either Cologne was pulled from the game, or he was being rotated. I'm not sure. I didn't watch the press conference at all, so I have no idea about that. I will say this: the defense, even though they got shredded, pass defense in the second half, they did get pressure on the quarterback this time. Really low-level awareness by Dallas's tackles, particularly the left tackle, in my opinion. And Detroit obviously took advantage, right? You get the 3 sacks from Muhammad, 5 sacks overall. I think Muhammad has 8 sacks now. Maybe it's 8.5. 1 from Aleem McNeil. Campbell had the sack to go with 12 tackles. Like I said earlier, I think this is a really good win. I'm not going to downplay it or criticize it at all. The defense definitely gave up a ton of passing yards in the second half. Everyone got something handed to them in coverage. Reed at times. Meek, I thought, was particularly bad from a catches to target standpoint, but I don't know that data. I'm just, going off of memory and what I was able to observe. Dak was really dealing at times, especially when they were, they got right in the game at 27-19, 30-27 with the 2-point conversion, and then 37-30. The cool thing is Detroit's offense was just too good tonight. Goff, Gibbs, Montgomery, Williams, St. Brown, Dan Campbell, John Morton. Those guys deserve a ton of credit. They knew how they wanted to attack Dallas's defense, and then they came out there and they called the right plays, put Goff and company in position to succeed. I get it that most quarterbacks get a lot of attention. To me, St. Brown's got to be talked about for getting himself on the field, number one, and then having the impact that he did statistically. He was efficient. He looked like St. Brown. For better or for worse, I know the Lions still face an uphill battle in some ways, but at least for a couple of days, maybe 5 or 6, you should be able to take some pride in the fact that tonight, the Detroit Lions, they looked like the team we all thought they could be in 2025. Yes, Dallas is at 500, but this is a team that tied Green Bay and beat the Eagles and the Chiefs, so far in 2025. Some of the unsung heroes, Tom Kennedy, fantastic on kick returns. Provided a short field, I think twice. Maybe he had a third kick return that was, in the 20, 25, 27-yard range. Dan Campbell, John Morton, with the play calling, the preparation, the under-center play action seemed to me to be a big facet of this game. Probably going to be one of the things I try to look at first on Friday morning. Muhammad definitely gets a film study video at this point. I didn't think he had played well recently, but tonight took advantage of his opportunities. I don't know what his snap count looked like, why he appeared to me to be so fresh late. I wonder if he, played less early and played more late, but I could be, obviously wrong there. The interception Barnes made off the PD from Amik, I think Amik is struggling right now, and he's one of my favorite players. If you guys have watched my content and listened to me talk about him and the Lions team at all for the last year, 2+, Amik's one of my favorite players. I thought it was a brilliant signing from Brad Holmes in that you had a guy who could play outside corner and you had a guy who could play nickel DB, slot corner, if you will. I don't know what's going on, why he looks different to me. He's not passing the eye test for me lately. Having said that, that first snap of the third quarter was huge. You got a PD, created an interception, led to a touchdown that allowed them to stretch the lead and then hold on to get their 8th win of the year. This was a fun one to try to cover and encapsulate for you guys. My apologies, if it takes too long to get out late into the evening, Thursday night into Friday morning. In any case, for Detroit to be 8-5 now, we would have hoped 9-4 would have been probably the floor if someone asked me through this many games. But you'll take it, especially given what you have faced so far this year from a schedule standpoint. The injuries making things definitely increased level of difficulty for the offense and the defense, and then so many tough teams still left on the schedule for Detroit. So I appreciate you guys' time, man. If you enjoyed the video, please let me know in the comment section, number 1. Number 2, if you think other Lions fans would like to hear my thoughts on this game, a reaction video that's not so instant, but nonetheless, if you think other Lions fans would want to hear what I have to say, please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.